Hello and welcome to School AtoZ's webcast on getting off to a great start at school. I think as parents we all want our kids to reach their full potential at school, but sometimes just getting them up and out of the house in the morning can be a major challenge. Beverly, what's your advice for motivating kids of any age?
Well, I think the first thing for parents is to show an interest, and especially in the young years, you want it always to be fun. You want school to be fun. And so for helping small children, it's showing an interest in what they do. It's really helping them to be relaxed about school and being guided by teachers. So don't get too uptight about it. I'd also say don't get hung up on homework too much. You know, it's got to be done, but it's not a big thing. And don't, for after school, you don't want it to become full of loads of after-school activities so they're exhausted. So really learning at that stage should be really fun and laid back, and it's not a problem.
And what about for older kids?
For older kids, it's a little bit tricky. They are trickier. They've really got to see the point of going to school. If they can't see the point of something, why bother? I think it's about helping them to know that if they follow their interests and stuff that they really enjoy, then they're going to have more options. And that's what school's about, to giving you more options in life and preparing you. You can help them with their organisation, get a wall chart so they know when their assignments have got to be in. So you can help them with the nitty-gritty stuff. But it's really helping teenagers see why they're there.
You're giving them some context to what they're doing.
So, yeah.
Sue, would you agree with Beverly? You've got children from kindy all the way through to year 12 at school. What's the secret to getting the best out of the kids at school?
Really good words of wisdom from Beverly, actually. It's about supporting your kids at school, being interested in what they're doing at school. For the younger ones, that's a lot easier because they want to tell you what they're doing, but you have to ask the right questions. So, at the dinner table, hopefully you're sitting down and having dinner with them, and you don't say, what did you do at school today, or did you have a good day? You need to ask specific questions about this morning, what did you do in class? Which teacher did you have today? And those sorts of questions that will prompt answers from the kids that will allow you to engage with them about their day and their learning. So for the younger ones, it's about showing a real interest in what they're doing. They will want to please you most of the time, and so they'll be talking to you about what they've done, and that homeschool partnership is absolutely essential to kids doing well at school, not only the younger ones but also the older ones. And as Beverly said, the older ones are a bit trickier, but if they have if they understand that they're at school for a reason, that there's a goal, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and you can help them as a parent establish what that goal is, then you'll be doing them a real favour in helping them to be motivated at school. So the younger ones are a little bit easier, the older ones you have to work a little bit harder at it, but it's very, very important that you do.
Greg, you've worked as a school principal for many years and you now work very closely with schools across New South Wales. Do you think the advice is different for girls versus boys?
I think the educational psychologists would, a lot of the evidence would say that there are some different motivating factors, but they tend to be, in my view, generalisations. I think we've really got to look at the point that every child's an individual, and as individuals there'll be different things that motivate individual students. And I think both the advice that Beverly and Sue's talked about already, it's about really hooking into what their interests are and knowing the child well enough to be able to engage them in the learning at whatever age. And I think the community and the parent partnership is so essential in that, to be able to also express to your child how important it is school, that it is an important part of their life, to have those conversations, to know what is happening, to make it fun, to make it interesting, and it also then adds to the school understanding your child as well, and being able to pick up that motivational link at school. So while I think there are some differences, it's really about looking about the individual child and making it fun and just having good expectations around that, being able to praise and reward them for their efforts, not necessarily just always ability at the other end, will continue that motivation and keep them trying to always improve their best.
You're saying from a parent's point of view, it's showing that the parent really values the child's time at school?
Yeah, I think that's a really important part, that that from any age the parents can actually express that with their children, that they actually have an interest in their schooling, and therefore that it is an important part of their life, that it is valued in the home, and that education will be there, basically Beverly's point, being able to unlock the choices for them in the future. Therefore that interest will help that motivation.
Martine, from a doctor's point of view, what sets off alarm bells for you when you hear a child may not be concentrating or performing at their best?
And commonly we hear this. I think from a doctor's point of view, the first thing I think about is physical things. Are their eyes working well? Is their vision okay? Are they sleeping? Are they eating? Then I think it's important to rule out emotional barriers to concentrating at school. Has something changed at home? Has there been a divorce? Has there been a death? Are they having trouble with their peers at school? Are they developing an anxiety disorder? Is there something more significant going on? When you've ruled those out, then you start to think about sort of more unusual but needing to be considered things like, are there problems with specific learning difficulties? Are they having problems with attention? And that's when you're going to need to really work with school, perhaps psychologists and paediatricians to look at those problems a little bit more in depth.
Let's talk about children who are doing well. We get a lot of questions through the School AtoZ and Facebook page, Greg, about extension classes and gifted kids. What's available to children who have been identified as gifted or very bright in New South Wales schools?
I think, Rachel, the first thing is to make that distinction between gifted or talented and bright students. We certainly, through New South Wales, cater very well for what we call academically gifted students, and we have another number of options available with them. One of them is through selective placement in opportunity classes, which often lead through to selective high schools. But more importantly, again, it's about picking up students within all schools and being able to identify that if they have got the talents or they are extending the child from where they are to their limits and really pushing that barrier. So it's about also looking at the appropriate curriculum that's taught, differentiating the curriculum for students so that they're not marking time, they actually are moving along at their own pace within the given classroom. And I think that's a really important point because while the academically gifted is only a very small proportion of the total population, lots of students have talents and are able in particular areas. So I think it's also important for parents to realise it's just not around the academic, but it could be in performing arts, it could be in sport, it could be another talent, and we need to be able to nurture that and to be able to extend and challenge the children to realise their full potential.
So we've had a lot of questions that have come through from parents whose kids have been placed into composite classes. Can you explain what a composite class is firstly?
I'm a great fan of composite classes. Composite classes are where students of more than one age group are in the same classroom together. So a year 1, year 2 group might be students that are 6 years of age and 7 years of age in that room learning together.
So if my child is, say, in the year 2 part of that composite, the year 1, 2 composite, so in the older part of the composite, should I be worried that they'd be doing year 1 work all over again?
Not at all, not at all. Composites are like any class. They have students in there with a range of abilities and interests and levels of motivation, and so like any class, the teacher is going to meet the needs of all of the students in that classroom.
Greg, could you understand why some parents might be concerned? I think it's a big compliment if your child's been pushed up, but maybe you'd be worried if they're not being pulled up, so to speak.
Yeah, I certainly can understand a parent's concern if they don't understand how they're formed and what basis they're formed on. But I think we can just assure parents that the educational and social needs of the children are looked at in the formation of those classes. And I think if anything, if they're unsure, they need to go and make an appointment with the classroom teacher, talk to the classroom teacher and get an understanding of how it's all working.
Sure. Greg, for children with special needs, what are the options available to them and how can a parent ensure their child receives the attention and the resources that the child really needs?
We prepare for students with special needs right from all the transition points, so entering from preschool, early childhood care into primary school and then transition into high school and so on. I think it's important for parents to understand though that the needs of each child is looked at. And I think an important aspect is that it can often change through the child's life where the most appropriate setting can be too. It's not necessarily one placement through that whole, when we talk about the adolescence, and that it could be quite different. So the options available is a child with special needs could be placed in classrooms. I mean, every parent and every child has an entitlement to be at their local school. And if that's the choice parents want to make, we look at how we change the educational environment or do the adaptation of the environment of the classroom and the learning to actually meet the needs of that student. Some parents, and depending on the needs of the child, may want to go into a special class or into a special school that meets the needs of those students where there's much more highly intensified support around that. And as I said, often children will go in and out of that depending on the needs as their growth and their maturity and the different needs change from year to year.
So it would be a real communication between the school and
it's
the
essential
parent.
partnership. I mean, the parents are vital, plus other agencies that might be working with children around special needs to provide that advice to make those appropriate decisions as the child moves through the school.
Okay, just a quick thing to finish from each of you. I just wonder a quick tip just on keeping children happy through this year at school.
It's really important to have a positive attitude towards school. So parents really promoting school, talking positively about their child being at school, and just as importantly, having that partnership with the school. So however the parents are able to support the school, whether it's through being involved in the P&C or whether it's just coming to an assembly, it's really important that students see that their parents value their education, value their school, trust their teachers, and are in partnership in the educative process. That's really important.
Martine.
I think it's really important not to overthink it. Essentially, if your child is happy to go to school, if your teacher is happy with them, it's probably okay.
They're doing all right.
Yes.
Greg?
That's good advice.
How do you follow that?
No, I think that's good advice. But I think the other thing is just expect that every child will learn and that they will be successful. It just may be at different rates, different times, but we would be positive and support them through that process.
And Beverly?
And I think focus on their interests and let them know when they're making a really good effort. Don't focus so much on them getting it right or wrong, but focus on their efforts.
For more information, tips and advice on getting your child off to a great start at school, make sure you explore the rest of our website, schoolatoz.com.au.